On our next Zoom class, you're going to get to test each other on conducting and saying the rhythms from chapter 2. And this is a demonstration of all of that. And you will be conducting and saying the rhythms with a metronome for rhythms 1, 2, and 3. And then you will put on a metronome and two-handed perform 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to demonstrate all of these here for you so you know exactly what an A would look like and sound like, and you can practice. Remember that our videos will be probably reversed, I'm pretty sure. In other words, when I go 1, 2, 3, remember this is my right hand, and so it's 1, out, in. So don't mimic what I do, otherwise your beat pattern might be like backwards or reversed. Remember, 1, out, and then 3 with my right hand, so your right hand. So we might be mirrored as we practice. That's okay. You could even maybe flip the video if you download it or something like that, but I don't think that's necessary. I think we just learned to do that. Okay, so I'm going to put on my metronome, and the metronome is set to 100, which is where you should be practicing. Okay, and here's how we do number 1. It's in 3. 1, 2, ta 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 ta. Okay. Next one's in common time, which is 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like that. Okay. Here we go. Ta 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 ta, and then off. Okay. And number 3 is in 2, and 2 is just making like a backwards J for yourself, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. It's 2 lines, but it's only got 2 beats per line. So here we go, number 3. Ta 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 ta. Okay? And that's exactly what you'll do for each other, and you'll grade each other on that in our Zoom class that we have next week. All right, now I'm looking at the next page, which is the two-parters, and maybe I'm gonna see if I can angle my camera down so you can see them. That's still not really great, but that might still be okay. And what happens is your right hand is going to be the top part and your left hand is going to be the bottom part. And before I make a reference video, I'll show you how I would practice this. Now, if you're a pianist or a guitarist or a drummer or something, you probably have right hand coordination already, some of it built in, and you're comfortable with this. But you might not be perfectly happy doing two things, especially when patterns break. If I were a complete beginner, if we had face-to-face class and I was making sure that everybody could do this and you've never done this before, I wouldn't practice in time because you'll just make mistakes. I would practice like this. So the first one here, I've got 3 on the top and a dotted half note, which is 3 beats on the bottom, and then together. I'd take them out of time like this. I'd go together, right, right, and I'd pause. And then the next measure, together, and then the next measure is together, left, left, and then together, right? And then 5th measure is together, right, right, together, left, left, together, 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 together. It's more important to get the coordination of your hands right, whether they're together or one's holding while the other one's doing something, and practice that completely out of time, but to get those basic mechanics correctly, than to just put on a metronome and try and get most of it right. Okay? So that being said, if you have problems doing this with me here, and you're making mistakes, even just a couple, then you should practice doing what I just showed you right there previous to this. And then, we'll do this as well. So that means that when we get to class, when we do the Zoom class, when we do these, you'll refocus your camera, you'll put on a metronome, and you'll do these here. So I'm going to do this for you. I know that you can't really see the book well, but maybe close enough, and these ones right here. All right, here's the demonstration on how to do these. Again, metronome set to 100. So here's number 4. Easy, right? Hope so. Right, now the next one, you can see that there's dotted notes on the top and on the bottom and stuff like that. So here's number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Again, practice with me, but you want to make sure that you can do these things slowly, correctly, mechanically, otherwise. Here's number 6. It's also in 4. Common time and 4/4 time is the same thing. Common time is actually a descendant of what we called medieval time signatures. They weren't actually called time signatures, they're called prolation symbols. They operate slightly differently, but we kept this for various historical reasons. All right, number 6. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And off. Okay? So, what can I say about these that will encourage you? Some of you will be able to just sort of do them pretty well most of the time. Just like the arpeggiation workshops where I said, these form the basis of frameworks to do other things. If you can kind of do these, spend a little more time so that you're really comfortable. When you get into a test situation, you're going to be nervous and you're going to make some mistakes, and you don't want that. But more than that, you don't want to not build the skills that make more difficult ones happen. And you'll know that this has happened to you if we get to chapter 3 or 4 or something like that, and you go like, all of a sudden I can't do these, right? Without lots and lots and lots of practice, and it seems kind of impossible. That means that you didn't spend enough time at the lower skill level ones and build up some core skills from them. Doing it or being able to do it is one thing. Building skills off of it so you have growth is another thing. Just think of it like any sports team or cross country or track that you might be on. You don't not run on a day because you can already run 2 miles or 3 miles or 4 miles. You run even though you've done that before many times so that you build up the physical capability of doing something bigger or more difficult later. We get that with phys ed. We sometimes gloss over it here. Just because you can run a certain amount doesn't mean you don't train, right? Just because you might be able to get through these okay right now because they're simple enough doesn't mean you shouldn't put in the time, because that's what's building your skills to get to the things that you can't do right now. Okay? All right. So practice those. Be ready to do those for each other.